Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the THfantaC Football Absurdity Spectacular, the episode title that we all got spectacularly wrong last week. We had the do's and don'ts completely off.
Yes.
It's actually I went to go make the episode image from the book from The Simpsons. I was like, whoops! It's actually the 10 do's and 500 don'ts of auction. Yep. So I'm here, Jeff Krisko. I'm here with Tony Steele of THfantaC.
There you go.
Waleed Ismail and Evan Hoovler of Mock Drafts on Tap of Football Absurdity YouTube. So, boys, how we doing today? Tony, how's it going?
Life is good, man. Time to party.
Yeah.
I am so ready for football season to start. Like, I can't believe I have to wait like 4 more damn weeks. I'm losing my damn mind here.
No, this is actually a bonus episode where we're just going to talk about Carson Beck. How much is too much for Carson Beck in auction drafts?
Someone in a best ball draft I was in drafted Haynes King from Carolina.
That was someone who was in a slow draft I was in, drafted Carson Beck during the Hall of Fame game, and I was like, all right, you need to relax. He's like, this guy's on my TV right now.
Well, you saw the argument Zachy and I were having in the best ball channel, right, about Carson Beck?
I don't know. Zachy's always having an argument. Love you, Zachy.
Oh, yeah. But he's like, my thing is like, I actually have a bunch of 20th round Carson Beck when I have Marvin Harrison Jr. on my team, when I have McBride on my team, when I have Wilson or Love on my team. And I only do it when I have 2 really strong quarterbacks because, I mean, like, he's going to start halfway through the season. So
that playoff schedule is nuts, too. That playoff schedule is ridiculous.
Week 17 against the Raiders, like, it's one of those things that, like, I know it's a lotto ticket, and I have to feel pretty good about my first 2 quarterbacks. But like for my 20th round, I like having a 3rd quarterback. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, the playoff schedule is, I think it's Jets, Saints, Raiders. So come on.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
I do have a question for you, Waleed. Does that mean round 19 Cole Kmet then?
Ooh, gotta move it up. Gotta move it up.
I did it that one time, and I felt so disgusting about it. But I'm like, you know what? This draft assist has been pretty on point so far. I'm just going to let this one ride because I love Cole Kmet. So I do have one best ball share of Cole Kmet.
All right, cut his mic. Cut his mic.
Done.
Cut his mic.
Right.
Cut his mic.
Now you should listen to all my advice after hearing that.
There you go. Evan.
I've just killed my credibility.
Evan, how are you? I have to get Waleed off of Cole Kmet. We have stuff to do.
Yeah.
I'm good. Jeff, thanks for having me on here.
Yes, sir. So, all right. Today's episode is episode 3, nominating and bidding on players. We have 2 episodes in the bank. You can go back wherever you're listening to this. They'll be there. They are. Episode 1 is intro to auctions. Episode 2 is auction values and price setting, building on a closed economy and pre-draft prep, basically the pre-draft stuff. So this one, we're talking about actually the nominating and bidding process. And then next episode, we're going to start getting into position by position strategies, and we're going to lump the onesies together because quarterback, tight end, kind of similar strategies. So first question, and this is kind of an open-ended question. Who do you nominate and win? What's your overarching strategy? Waleed, we'll start with you. Cole Kmet.
Look, this is actually a very important sticking point for me when it comes to fantasy football. There are people who love to nominate players that are in the back half of the draft, like guys that like are going to fill your bench. Bench players are basically worth at most $2. And we talked about this last episode where we're talking about a closed economy. Your goal is to get as much money out of the pool as possible. So you need to be nominating top tier guys that are top 10 players that you don't think should be top 10 players. This is the only way to approach it. And then keep going down in ranks of 10. You're like guys that you know, you're like let's say you don't think Jonathan Taylor is going to be that good this year. Right now he's RB4 based on most ADPs. You nominate him, that's a minimum of $50 out of the pool. Like you just took a quarter of one of your opponent's budget. And your goal, in a way, is for as many of your players to come to you while you have money. You want all the worst. The more players you hate that go early, the better it is for you. So you want to be steering the ship in that direction.
Yeah, for years, my auction draft every year, my first nomination, Joe Mixon. I never wanted Joe Mixon.
Oh my
Everybody
God.
else did.
I was always doing Joe. Joe Mixon was always a top 3 nomination for me.
Yeah, always
Oh.
doing Joe Mixon.
Well,
Get him out of the pool.
There were a couple of years where that shot you in the foot, right?
Not quite as bad as Joe Mixon.
Oh,
Folks.
outstanding.
I know he's an official op, but Jesse Morse had my favorite moment at the Expo 2 years ago, which was I was at the doctor panel, and a guy was like, I just drafted Joe Mixon. Do you have any good news for him? And he's like, he's not playing this year, dog. Just FYI. And he was like, oh no. He's like, I took him in the 4th round. I feel great about him. And Jesse Morse like, not playing, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
It's like,
Wow.
shit.
Outstanding.
In my head, I was like, vaxxed?
Yeah, no shit, right?
Vaxxed? All right, Evan, what is your overarching strategy for nominations? Who do you nominate and win?
Like Waleed said, top guys I don't want. It's really interesting to me that people try to circumvent this notion, because the main reason why people are seeking out auction draft advice, the main reason why people are probably listening now, is that auction makes you feel like you have less control. There's more variables. Every auction is different. You want more control. And so I don't get why everyone's not glomming on to the strategy. Hey, you want control? Nominate a guy who'll get a huge chunk of the pot out and clog somebody else's roster, not yours. You will always, always succeed.
And
Always.
And here, I have to make a statement. This is a universal rule. It is the most important rule in auction you can remember. And that is, in your first 10 nominations, if you are nominating a player that you want, you are doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw an article today. I'm not going to say who it was by. I'm not going to name and shame and promote. But they said, oof, nominating who you want, nominating players you don't want to get a lot out of the pool is tired. That's old hat. And I'm like, oh, yeah, the principal fundamentals of mathematics ain't nothing but a thing, huh? That's what you're going with. All right.
And I want to
Was this an AI article on SI.com?
They're all AI articles everywhere.
except Football Absurdity.
Except Football Absurdity.
Hang on real quick. I hear you struggling. That sounds tough. Would you like to talk more about it?
Every time I try to see, because I try to track where I'm like doing in Google ranks, because I like to be number 1 on common searches for auction. And every time Google Gemini pops in and gives me great advice that's directly stolen from my article. And I'm like, you didn't even you just, But anyway, tangent, sorry.
One of my favorite parts of the fantasy football preseason is Evan posting articles and raging at them throughout August. It really is one of the best times of the year. That's when you know football season's coming.
I really enjoyed Fantasy Pros, guys who are being overdrafted. And the first player listed was Oronde Gadsden at tight end 20.
Hey, man.
Better be AI, dude. You better.
Look, man, you're not in these 2 tight end leagues, okay?
I have a question. This seems like a hard and fast rule for you guys. Is it stupid to nominate a guy that people will have strong takes on either way, and make someone make a stance early on? Because okay, Jonathan Taylor, you're telling me is going to get $50 out of the pot. He should be able to get $50 out of the pot, whether he's the 5th or the 15th nomination, right? So, if I'm trying to make you make a stance on a guy like Parker Washington with my first nomination at 5th overall, is that getting cute with it?
I'm going to actually say this is...
Wait, hold on. I've seen it work, but it's memorable when it does work.
Okay.
It is getting a little cute with it, because you're like, oh, I got Parker Washington for $6 and or $7. And it's like, yeah, you could have gotten him for 4 or even 3 later on, because it is a little cute, because as Evan likes to say, it only takes one other person, right?
Mm-hmm.
It only takes one other person.
And I will say, a great example of this was a few years ago. When Sun God was in his 2nd year. When he was getting nominated early, and everyone was hoping that he would fall so you could get him cheap. And people did have to make stands. He was going for into 20s and well past his snake ADP, because there were usually 2 people in your room who wanted to make that stand. So it absolutely is something that can work.
For me, it's getting cute with it because a big strategy for the second stage of the early game of fantasy football auctions is having enough money to bully people. So I don't care if I made you take a stance on a guy for $20. I want you to have $50 less, so I'm big bank.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where early on, you can still pivot and work around overpaying for a Parker Washington. But as your budget gets smaller, your decisions to overpay for a player get more drastic or more
becomes more urgent.
Yeah, more urgent. And like Evan said, if you've already got $50 out of the bank, like that $20 Parker Washington is going to hurt a lot more than, say, for example, it had been like you could end up with a $50. I'm just throwing out numbers: $50 Jonathan Taylor and a $7 Parker Washington, or a like $40 Kyron Williams and a $12 Parker Washington. It's like they hurt kind of the same in the pot. And so ultimately it is getting a little cute with it. I've seen it where the Parker Washington goes for $20, or people are keeping their powder dry and he goes for like $3 if he's supposed to go for like $7, right? I've seen it happen both ways.
Okay.
So
plus by the time one of those guys is nominated, there's still a high up that multiple managers have $20 to spare still.
Yeah.
You know, if they want to go $20, then they'll go $20 later, or if they want to go $20 now, they'll go $20 later. It's kind of like, you know.
I think the key point with this is you better be right if you're doing it.
Yeah. What I was going to liken it to is when your stacks dwindling in poker. Hey, Waleed, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but a poker metaphor.
I've heard of
this. Ready for this?
Twice.
When your stacks dwindling in a tournament, you're basically trying to find the best hand to go all in with, right? And that's when you're getting low on bucks. And so it might be Parker Washington towards the end. You're like, screw it, I'm going to max bid Parker Washington, whatever. I'm going all in. This is the last player that I truly want. So it's kind of like that. Whereas if you're doing it off the rip, people will be like, yeah, it's the third hand of the tournament. It's the 30th hand of the tournament. I haven't played yet. I'm bored. I'm going to call. And so you could end up in a rough situation.
Okay.
Yeah. Waleed, have you ever played poker?
Once or twice.
Okay, perfect. All right. Anything else about the nominating strategy overarching?
And it's never someone that you want.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes.
Until you get to a point where you're comfortable with like the number of dollars that are in the room versus the number of dollars that you have, kind of striking out and seeing like, let me throw this guy out. Like I'll throw out a guy I kind of want to kind of gauge like prices. I'm like, well, if I end up with this guy, cool. If I don't, it's not the end of the world. Kind of like I would throw out like if I'm looking at running back here, like this year, like a Cam Scadaboo. I'm like, let's see where this is going, right? And then if it's still too high, well, then I'm going to sit back and I'm not going to nominate my Davids Montgomery and my DeAndre Swift. I'm going to keep that powder dry. I'll switch and kind of test the room every 4 or 5 nominations. But ultimately, the goal is to get players on rosters and money out of the pool, because the fewer roster spots and the less money that's out there, that's better for your roster building.
Sure.
So I'm seeing set the market. Are we discussing set the market now, or is that coming up? Because I have opinions.
Not yet, Evan. There's a question.
Okay. No.
So the next one is why do I even make the rundown? Huh? Evan's like, I would like to go to 0.8, please. Guys you want for $1 early. Is this even like a real option? Throwing out a guy like a bullshit position like a kicker or DST. Do you even bother with that?
No, it actually enrages me.
It's stupid, Joe.
Can I have the number one auction nomination spot in the FA auction draft this year so I can start with a kicker?
My thing is
number one.
I'm going to stream both positions anyway, so I don't really care. Like I'm not spending more than $1.
That's kind of what I was going for.
Yeah, I literally write a weekly article, and frankly, I think rostering one defense all season is suboptimal. Playing matchups is a much more effective way of like winning your league. Like that's what you should be doing anyway. So don't spend the money.
The common argument for the strategy of nominating $1 kicker or defense early goes like this. Hey, If I get them, cool, I got the kicker or defense I wanted for $1. If not, somebody bids another one, that's another $1 out of the pot. So wrong on two different counts. Number one, wow, you got the kicker you wanted. So great. Crickets. Number two, wow, you got $1 out of the pot. Only $1,999 to go. Keep going. Like,
that was kind of how I felt about it. It was like, cool, man. It doesn't matter. I think that people think they're like, all right, I got Brandon Aubrey for okay, cool, man. Guess what? Cam Little was on waiver wires last year.
Sure. And like, to use a boxing analogy,
I bullied Waleed off of poker analogies.
No. I haven't used a poker analogy once. I've never been the one to bring it up on this podcast.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah. But like, early in a fight, do boxers go for body blows or do they go for jabs? They're going for body blows. You're trying to weaken your opponent, like, for the long term. Like, that's what you want to do with your dollars. You want to take out big chunks. You want to weaken them so they don't have the power to hit you.
Yeah, and ultimately, like, getting the we'll get to it. There is a question about what's more important, draining the dollars or draining the players. I think both are important, but I want to hear everybody's opinion on it. But Evan, I heard you had an opinion on setting the market, and don't yell at us. We didn't do it. Okay, you've been yelling at us all episode.
It's true.
Don't tell me what to do.
There you go.
So anyway, a big piece of fantasy advice that are shared out there by people who don't do a lot of auctions but have big platforms is sometimes you want to nominate the player you want early before the market is set. But that's a self-contradicting plan based on an observer fallacy. They see someone they wanted or someone good nominated early before the market set, who goes for what turns out to be a steal based on what the market is. But guess what? If you had nominated them, the person that ended up with them would be bidding with you too much more than the price they went for. So just by saying, oh, I should do that, you are injecting yourself, as Jeff said. It only takes one other manager to be interested, and you're not getting them for value. So it's a fallacy to try to nominate the guy you want. And guess what? There's 9 or 11 other nominations happening before you nominate. Someone else might do it for you.
That's right. Never forget 9-11 nominations.
Like, I gotta say, like, you're also operating under the assumption that everyone in the room has the same rankings as you, like, or similar value. They just might not. Like, you might have misvalued what that player was worth, and you could have gotten him for more if you just been paying attention.
Yeah, I had that happen
last year. I had that happen. So real quick, you don't know what the market's going to be like after 1 through 5 players. I had that happen last year in my big money league where Jamar Chase, the presumed number 1 overall, was nominated first, and I went on in for him at $2 less than projected, and I felt so smart. Everyone else in the top 15 went for less than projected, so he was still top of the market, and I messed up.
Well, I would argue you got Jamar Chase, so you did just fine.
I would say that everybody else won because they drained money out of the pool. Evan, congratulations. You were the mark.
True. And there were reasons why that is a victory and not. But the point is, I thought the market was going one way. I had no idea how the market was going to go after the first nomination,
I think that's why, and I'm going to ask, everybody of this, do you want to get the first guy off the board? The first guy off the board, I'm never bidding.
See, and here's my thing. I don't care. Like, here's the big thing. Here's the real question, Evan. Were you happy getting Jamar Chase?
Yeah, I think to $2 under proj is misleading because you're right. If a guy's going for $2 under proj and I get him, that's a win no matter how it turns out. Yeah, I think I kind of made a misstep there. My point still stands that I didn't know how the market was going to go. I felt good about getting him. I didn't feel good in retrospect about feeling so smug that I'd gotten that guy early before the market was set.
Yeah, this is to the point where you don't know how the market's going to go. You were convinced that after Jamar Chase went off the board, everybody else was going to overpay, but you were the top of the market. we kind of talked about that last episode where you were like, well, the most a player is going to go for is, let's just say $62. And then everybody else got revalued from there. And so that's kind of like you can't get you can't win or lose the draft with your first player, basically, especially in auction.
Yeah. And like the big thing too is that kind of shows why setting the market doesn't really like, it's just a nonsense statement that we love to throw out for football. Like all that really matters is, okay, you paid the most money for any receiver who's also the best receiver. That's just fine. Like you don't have to win. You can make a neutral play in auction, and that's okay, and find your value anywhere. But like getting the best player is always going to be pretty fucking good for you.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any questions about setting the market, Tony?
I mean, it's what I'm picking up so far is the most important asset that you can have when playing an auction draft is fluidity, right? Because we're saying all of these things like, hey, you don't want to be the guy bidding on the first player. Hey, you don't want to be nominating guys that you might want. You don't want all these really important assets or the guys that you like going early. But at the same time, you got to read the room, right? So instead of saying that these rules are hard and fast, it's more like these are hard or these are rules, but there's an asterisk there that's like, this is all pending on what the dollar amount that you're comfortable paying for these guys are. If I really like JT, if I think JT's RB1 this year, I might go $52.
Yeah. But honestly, you might go $60 for RB1, and that's okay.
No.
Like a great rule. A great
He needs
rule,
money
though.
for Jalen Naylor. Don't forget.
Yeah,
Say
you
that.
got to get those Jalen Naylor dollars in. No,
Right.
but like here's the big thing is like the only question you really need to ask yourself is, would I be happy getting this player for that price? If the answer is yes, get the fucking player for that price. If you think it's a little bit more than you're comfortable with, are there players that you might like similarly that you're willing to wait for to try to see if you can get a better price? Just feel the room. Like if this is the last guy that you like in this tier and you want him and you have money, don't be afraid to overpay if that's your guy. Like,
Sure.
Auction's about getting your guy. But just, read the room. Don't worry about how early or late. Worry about, do I like this guy, and at what price do I like this guy?
Sure.
Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Worry about what you're doing.
That speaks to tiering players, Waleed, and why I don't like to be like one of the first guys to get a player off the board, because by definition, that's going to be the top guy in the tier, right? If it's one of the first players. So you're waiting for the tier to dry up, not all the way, because Evan, that's one of your big things is as you reach the end of a tier, values are going to boost back up as long as there's another person who has a player in that same tier as you.
FOMO.
What was that?
FOMO is real in auctions.
Yeah, FOMO. Yeah, FOMO. FOMO and fear of actually winning is also the nomination is also a problem sometimes. At least.
And what I'd say to that is, on the flip side of that, what if the first person that's getting nominated is also the top guy you have in that tier? That's why I'm like, you got to be fluid. Like sometimes this is a guy I really fucking want, so I'd like to tier out. But if I'm like this, I can making the decision to like, you know what, I'm going to pay a couple bucks more because this is my guy.
Yeah.
And then I'll just make that up later.
To give an example,
that's why it's not hard or fast to me.
To give an example of that is Devon Achane, right? By consensus, he's like around an RB 8-9 guy, kind of in there. But he's a top 3 guy for me at running back. So my tier list looks a little bit different, right? So if somebody's nominating Devon Achane for me in like the third, fourth overall pick, somebody like that's their Joe Mixon, right? That's the guy they're like, these suckers are going to take money out of the pool. Guess what? My dollar amount that I'm willing to go to is going to be way higher than most other people's.
Yep.
And it's because he's in a completely different tier for me than most people. So that's why you kind of have to be fluid and cautious about being like, oh shit, this is the end of the tier, because everybody's tier is different. So,
and those are the price points that when you have them, that's where you can win some leagues. Like having like different rankings and having the conviction. The Matt Forte 100 catch year, I was way higher on consensus than I know he was.
Checking the box.
Also, I was right. I was right. So
checking the box on Waleed. Also, I was right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
so then can I have
that box is checked every time.
Can I ask it? I need to ask a tier question. We kind of talked about this last week. I referenced this specific pocket of wide receivers. Jeff saying Zay Flowers was a higher tier than what I was saying. I want to kind of focus on this like Devonta Smith, Lad McConkey, T. Higgins, Emeka Ibuka little pod right here.
Okay.
So if Ibuka and Smith go quickly, and you think that those are the 4 players in the tier, are you willing to go above AAV to get Lad, knowing that Higgins is the last in that tier and people will probably pay a higher rate above AAV?
Yeah, now you're thinking like a pro, like a veteran auctioneer.
Yeah.
That's a next level question. I fucking love that. Yeah, that's 100% something I'm doing there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where, especially because that pocket is pretty well established if you're looking at ADP, right, which is easier to look at than AAV. It's a pretty well established pocket, and they do kind of end up following semi closely until you get down to like the lower dollars. Sure. That's a well established pocket that a lot of people are going to be looking at, right? So you're like, oh shit, this is the second to last guy in this tier. I know this is a tier that a lot of people are looking at that's well discussed. I should probably get this. I should make sure I don't get in a bidding war for the last guy in the tier for me.
And I feel like
I would be happier spending a couple more bucks on the second to last guy.
Okay.
And I think the swings in that tier are like, I think right now they're like $10 to $20 guys. So it can fluctuate like from room to room.
And I just want to say, there's probably some people listening who are like, I don't know what these guys are. I can't rank my guys. That's why I'm winning. That's why I'm listening to the Intro to Auction podcast. If you look at if you're using an online platform where they list projected value, you can just look at the dollar values and see where the tier will break, where there's a drop. A guy's going for 40, a guy's going for 39, a guy's going for 38, next guy's going for 33. That's your tier. You don't have to think that hard if you don't have the time to think that hard.
And as an aside, while we're talking about tiers, if you're a baby auction player, right, there's a really easy way to find players that you want to target. If you are still learning, take some projections you trust, take those fantasy points, divide them by the AAV, and you get kind of like a most bang for your buck kind of ranking of players. Now, this isn't always going to work because when you get down to like the $1 guys, it gets a little wonky. But I tended, when I started, I tended to do this for the like mid-range running backs and wide receivers, like you're running back like 12 to like 30 to see like who are the bang for the buck guys in that range, because you're ultimately in this, you're trying to score the most fantasy points based off of the number of dollars you spend, right? You're trying to maximize the amount of fantasy points you get out of your $200. So that's like, if you're not sure like where to target in those like middle rounds, that's not a bad way to get some like guidelines for bang for your buck. Obviously that's a 101 thing, but you're listening to the 101 podcast.
That is a very interesting strategy / observation that I might write an article about. I've never thought about that way.
Oh,
never
really?
Thought about that way.
You bang for your buck?
Oh,
yeah. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. So let me like look under the hood and see if the numbers back it. They probably do.
It's called the coleslaw strategy.
I was going to call it the Little Caesars hot and ready strategy.
Woo! Let's go. Weberoni, baby.
That's a good one. Yeah, no, that's a strategy I do love doing depending on the year. Like there are some years where I used to feel like the third and fourth round I liked better than the first and second round of players. I thought certain guys were overrated. So you just kind of like pick your battles, and like when money was out of the pot, I'd have a bunch of guys who I thought were misprojected, and like those guys, like they outperformed like ADP a lot. You can do some damage like attacking a draft that way.
Yeah, I was always trying to get four. What was it? It was 4 top 30 running backs, 4 top 30 wide receivers, and however that worked out. Usually it was a viable strategy because you're racking up like 8 round 3 through 5 guys usually.
Yep.
Yeah. But if your struggles are with mispriced rankings, like that's not specifically an auction thing. I mean, that's Snake too, right? Like
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
like, here's the thing. We're going to be wrong about 50% of the first round picks this year. History tells us this is the case. So,
well, I mean,
like,
here's the thing. Fantasy Pros did a whole bunch of research that says that like the best experts on like tough pressure points are like correct 52% of the time or something.
Yeah.
That's why for a long time the something awful football fantasy football thread was called barely better than a coin flip.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So you're going to be wrong. So that's kind of like that's why I liked getting a bunch of round 3, 4, 5 guys, just taking a bunch of shots in that range, because that boosts the floor of,
and there's always one guy in that group who just like absolutely blows up. There's always a guy that's the 3rd or 4th rounder this year who's going to be a 1st rounder next year. And
Bashal too.
Like it's fun. You mean
$0?
Chris Rodriguez, right?
Yeah, Christ Rodriguez, please.
Oh God, I was telling Tony this in like a thread. It's like one of my like points here is like I'm at like 25% Chris Rodriguez, and I was just kind of like I don't really see this number going down. Like
those are rookie numbers, son.
No, I'm like yeah, but I try to spread it out, but at the same time, like he's so much better than everyone else at his price point that it's hard to just pass him. I have like 50% Ray Davis on my team.
Ray Davis?
I don't know how
I
I'm
was
supposed
getting
to
him
feel about that.
19th round. Are you kidding me?
All right, so 19th round. So we're talking 18th round Cole Kmet now.
No.
All right. So I think that does that for that part. I want to give a shout out to Mick Fats in the Discord, brought up a point about bidding. If somebody is kind of like hyper focused, like they popped an Addy before the draft and they're paying a lot of attention to what people are doing, don't zone out. Like you can still, even if you're not going to get a player, still, I mean, it's fun to bid. Like you can bid like $8 on Jamar Chase. You're not going to get him. You can bid $15 on Jamar Chase. You're not going to get him. You can be
There's always a chance. That's the excitement.
Every dollar's a chance. Yeah. So you don't have to sit there like Elon Musk, fingers tented, being like, you fools, you morons, you're draining the pool for me. Like get in there, scrap. So nobody knows that you're sitting back. You just look like a guy who is just not winning his bids.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and I have a real fun anecdote about McFats about that. He's one of the best fantasy football players of all time. He was, in my opinion, that I've ever met. He was the best until Jeff won that Superflex League, Experts League, with an auto-drafted team. But McFats learns. McFats learns. He's my friend in real life. About 15 years ago, we were doing our auction, and he was in the other room, I don't know, making a sandwich or something while we're bidding. And all of a sudden, somebody gets nominated. And he walks in and sits down. No sandwich in his hand. You best believe we bid him through the roof because he telegraphed it. So it's so great that like he's like, well, I messed up. Now I know. Be in the mix, even if you're faking it. That's cool, man. Shout out to Fatty.
Yeah, be in the mix, even if you're faking it. Don't like. It's again, Waleed. If you've ever heard of poker, it's a poker analogy, right? If you're a guy who's folding every time around the table and then all of a sudden you raise, everybody's going, oh, fuck this. I'm not going to play this hand, you know.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. I love playing those hands. I know what you have. Like I will play garbage against those guys when I'm like, oh, you might have aces. Let's see if I flop 2 pair because I can get all his money. Like,
well, you're a chaos agent, so that's
I am very much a lag. Like both my rooms, like it didn't take me long. 2 trips where people are like, he's never met a hand he doesn't like. Like if I'm in position, I will do anything.
Well, being in position, you're like, let me just see what happens.
And that ties into this where
you tell yourself a story.
Jeff, sorry.
All right. Tony, you look like you have a question. No, you're just thinking. Okay, Tony does not have a question. All right, Evan, what were you going to say?
I'm absorbing.
And that's what Waleed's saying. It ties into what we're saying. Because Waleed does that, nobody has any idea when his hand is good or not. Just like nobody has any idea if you want this guy or not, if you just keep getting in on the action.
That's true.
I always start off with that. I always try to get in a little bit just because, like you know, a nice early guy, CD Lamb at his price, I'm not really a big fan of. But I'll also say this: if CD Lamb's going for $40, I'll take him. Like I like the player. I don't like his price point this year. So I'll get anyone for the right price.
Yeah. CD Lamb, sneaky, not a great pick at his price, but I will still take him.
Yeah. But still a great player who absolutely could finish as wide receiver 1. It's in his range of outcomes, but I think it's a much smaller one than a lot of other people.
I mean, in the grand course of the multiverse, me finishing wide receiver 1 is within my range of outcomes.
It's true.
I believe in you.
Oh my God.
You got this.
I am here for Jeff Krisko's Cooper Cup season.
That's right. Who needs a fat old guy who can't run routes and has 2 bad feet? Let's go, baby.
The Giants.
They've already got 3 of those guys, to be fair. All right. So now we're gonna go to the overarching discussion question of the episode, which we've kind of been touching on, which is, what is your preferred method of nomination? And I think more importantly, because we haven't touched on this, when will you deviate from this, or do you deviate from your favorite method of nominations?
Don't deviate. I am absolutely trying to take money out of the pool. I'll go further back. The first couple of rounds, I'm trying to get big chunks out, $50, $40 chunks. But afterwards, I'm willing to go down to just get 20 or 10. I'm not in a huge rush. If there's a player that I kind of like a little bit at the right price. So there's a much broader scope with those 3rd, 4th, 5th round guys in Snake, where there's a lot more of them that I like at the right price, and I could conceivably get it if they don't get nominated early. It's just guys that I'm absolutely out on, that I'm pretty much nominated.
Okay. And
I have found, based on observation this year, that I deviate from that when it's the last starter on my roster. Case in point, I was doing my greasy spoon theory, my greasy spoon strategy, and I had a pretty good team, and I just needed a flex spot, and I wanted a 3rd running back, and I had a max bid of $13, and I looked, and Tony Pollard's still there, and then the next player was J.K. Dobbins, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want J.K. Dobbins. My team looked pretty good with Tony Pollard as the number 3 on my flex. I'm just gonna do it. I'm going to nominate him. I can get him because $13 is enough to buy, enough to roster 2 Tony Pollards. So I just did it. I'm like, that way I can start leaning back and planning my end game. So I found that while Waleed's strategy is very good on principle, I find that mentally, if I do that for the last person, it helps me shift to thinking the end game, the bench game, a lot more clearly.
So I'm gonna build on that really quick, and I'm gonna say, Waleed, I don't know if I'm stepping over you to say the point that you're already saying, which is, when will you start nominating players that you like?
And you kind of are, because I was going to say, Evan kind of proved me a liar, because I realized there is a certain point where I will nominate guys that I like, and it's all about and I've talked about this in previous episodes. The less money there is in the pool, the more dollars you have, the more valuable, or the less valuable they become. So, a lot of the times, I want to wait a little bit before taking a player. But if I really like them at their price point, I'm going to get them. And sometimes it happens where I don't like the price points, and a lot of guys go, and I got the big stack. Well, I'm willing to pay up a little bit more because now my dollars are worth less. So depending on how the draft has gone, the less money I have, the more likely I am to nominate a player I don't like. But the more money I have, and more people around me have less money, at that point, I'm going to get guys I like, and I'm going to pay up to get them.
Okay. Question, because this one I just thought of it in my head, which is, I think what a lot of people are worried about with their nominating and their bidding and all that stuff is they are afraid that they are going to leave the draft with a bunch of money left over. What do you do to make sure that that doesn't happen? Evan, it sounds like when you're getting to the end of your starters, you're like, let me splash some cash around. Let me get this last guy. I think it'll look good in my spot, or in my last flex spot. What is your strategy or plan to not have a bunch of money left over? Because you can run out of money. Honestly, some people build their teams that way, but having money left over is a disaster.
You got to do one of either 2 things. Number 1, get your guys early. Number 2, get your guys the second stage of early. I've been passing on top 15 guys because I think they're overvalued this year. But then when it gets to 16 through 30, I'm like, you got to get 3 of these guys. Who cares if you feel bad about how much you're bidding? You got to get them, because I've done this, 15 times this year. Every single time I'm like, I'll get 2 and wait in the value. I end up with like $30 left over.
Yeah.
So you got to push in early or right after early.
Yeah, and I think that also brings to kind of like one of the points that I was getting to, which is if you have money and you're at the point of the draft where you're the big stack and you're the bully and there are players on the board that you want, that's when you go get those players. That's when you maybe overspend a little bit, because my guiding, everybody in this recording knows my guiding running back strategy, which is what's the correct number of running backs to have on your roster? At least one more than you have right now.
One more than you have, 100%. Oh, I love that.
One more than you have right now. Yeah. Yeah.
I quote that at least once a year.
So, I mean, it's true too, right? Because they're such a fragile position. So if you're like, I got these 2 running backs for $20 each, but I can't possibly spend $20 on a third running back. Why? Right? Oh no, I'm going to have 3 running backs that I like, and I'm going to spend my money. I'm not going to end up like, with money left over and regretting what I did. Because what I've seen people do is be like, well, I got to save my money for my wide receivers now, or vice versa. They're like, I got 2 wide receivers for $20. Now I got to save money for running backs. You can't take it with you, right? This isn't an IRA. You're not going to get $250 next year if you leave 50 on the board this year, right? So when you're the big stack, keep pounding on getting good players, and you won't leave with money still in the pool, right? Because at a certain point, that switch has to flip, right? If you're laying back, remember we talked about when the Oshko's zigging, you got a zag. We talked about that last week. Mm-hmm. At a certain point, you're going to go from sitting back to, I'm the big stack. Now you're all in big trouble, and you start throwing cash around, right? Like Waleed likes to talk about, his money's worth less, right? And that's when you press. That's when you press, right? And if you're just knocking guys out, you get 4 top 20 guys for like $70 or whatever. Well, perfect. That $70 off the board, your money will become as valuable as everybody else's, and you can kind of sit back again or keep pressing it.
And I think like the next question that would come up from this is, well, I'm just learning auction. How do I frame this? Like, so I know what I'm doing, and I have a nice little, like, because I'm a math guy, what I'm generally doing is I'm looking and I'm keeping track of the first person to spend $50 on a player. Then I kind of put the people around me in tiers. So there's like, okay, there's 4 guys who have spent over, like, got like $50 players. So they're like 150. There's a bunch of people who are under 100. How much money do I have relative to this? And it's like, and if I see like if there's 11 people with under $100 and I have like $130 left, well, I just am looking, I'm like, who are the 3 best players left? And I'm just like, I'm getting those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, It's how you look at it. Like, the more money I have relative to everyone else, the more aggressive I am at the top of my tiers.
And what I do when I'm looking at, when we're doing it an online draft, I like to look at average bid remaining, not max. I like to look at average, because it gives me an idea of, in one snapshot, how many dollars, how many roster spots, right?
No, I prefer, I always look
You're
at
a max bid guy?
A max bid guy. And the reason for that is I want to know the exact most dollars you can spend on a single player. So
I do that towards the end, but in the middle, to get a snapshot of where everybody in the league is in their roster build, that's where I go in the middle. And then as we're getting into like $5 players, $3 players, that's when I'll switch it to max bid, because that information is more important at the end of the draft. In the middle of the draft, when you're trying to gauge like clogged up roster spots, empty dollars out of the pot, that's where I like that average bid, just because it gives it like a look. I don't have to be like, all right, this guy has $100, but he has 3 players, or this guy has $20, but he has 11 players. Like, those are 2 different guys in 2 different spots of the draft.
Can you explain the difference between average bid and max bid for the simpletons out there like myself?
So average bid is basically number of dollars that player has remaining divided by the number of roster spots they have left to fill.
Okay.
Max bid is the number of dollars they have. I don't know the best way to explain this.
I do. So
okay.
Basically, you have to spend a minimum of $1 on every player, on every spot on your roster in an auction. So theoretically, you could spend $187 on one player and then just get a bunch of dollar players. You have to really like that player and also be a complete idiot, but you could theoretically do it. So the way max bid works is it like assumes you could get one player for like $186 more than that next bid. Like it places those dollar amounts on all the remaining players, and then you could max bid as much as you have left besides that.
So here's an example to illustrate. Here's an example to illustrate what he's saying. I have $12 left. Another manager has $12 left total, not max, total. Oh no, he might bid up for me in this guy. But if I look at his roster, oh, he has 10 spots left. He can only spend $3 max in a player. I have 3 spots left. I can spend up to $10 in a player. Okay, I'm not worried about him anymore. Anybody I really want that I think he or she, or them might want, I'll just bid $3 for. And then they can't do it. So it's good to know what that max is because it's often different from the total, as Jeff said, particularly towards the end game.
Yeah, so it's basically averages dollars divided by roster spots. Max is dollar minus roster spots plus 1, blah blah blah. So it's the most you can spend on one roster spot remaining, basically.
Okay,
on one of your roster spots remaining.
And I think the reason I always wanted to see max bid is because it's so much. I just feel like it's easier to see. Okay, this is the most they could spend at any given time. I just always want that information, even if it's an unrealistic amount.
I can see Jeff's point of view, but that also is how my brain works, Waleed. That's also how my brain works.
I can also see my point of view. Okay, so what is more effective to both of you? What do you what is in your experience more effective to building a good team for you? Getting roster spots clogged up or getting money out of the pool, or both?
I mean, it is both, because when you get money out of the pool, you're also getting players that you don't want on benches, and you can see that I feel like they're intertwined.
Okay. Evan,
obviously you want to go for both, but I find that in the early stages, top 15 to 25 guys, I just want money out. And then when I start looking at my team construction, I'm like, ooh, I still want to get a wide receiver and running back. That's when I click that whole positions drafted grid that shows me who has how many of each position. And I go, ooh, there's a lot of people with running backs, not a lot of people with wide receivers. I better start nominating those wide receivers to clog that up, or vice versa.
I guess that makes sense, right? Because in a snake draft, if I'm going up against somebody, they're going to have a pick in round 9 no matter what.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this way, I can, if I bid in a certain way, I'm essentially removing their ability to have a pick in what would be a round if we're doing a snake draft, so to speak.
Exactly. You could force them, instead of having a round 9 pick, they now all of a sudden have like 3 round 12 picks.
Sure.
And Evan actually brought up a great nomination point that we did not discuss, and we absolutely should have. So I'm glad you brought it up. And it's the as you're building your roster, this is an important point in nominating. So let's say I have 2 running backs already. Guess what? I don't really care about the top running backs. So regardless, I've covered those spots. I'm not going to get them for as cheap as I would like to if I've gotten top guys. Nominate those guys and get that to get money out of the pool. In the second stage of the draft, after those first few rounds, you're nominating guys that you don't want at their price that you think are going to be expensive to get money out of the pool. But at a certain point, when you first get your first 2 positions, if they're 2 wide receivers, all of a sudden, those other positions are more valuable. Quarterback, running back, because you need starters. The wide receiver position became a lot less valuable because you've got your 2 guys that you like that are your starters. So nominating the highest ranked wide receiver is to your benefit. It's going to get money out of the pool, and you don't need it.
Sure.
Yeah, you're going to basically, to Waleed's point, what's happening is every wide receiver that comes off the board for the next 10 or 15 wide receivers, that's free money for you because you're not going to bid on them anyway. So everyone that goes off the board is taking money out of the pool and clogging up roster spots. And those are only good for you because you don't want those players anyway. So you want as many of those to come off the board for as much money as possible while you're sitting back and chilling with your 2 wide receivers.
And your sandwich.
And your sandwich. You don't come sprinting back in.
Don't. If you don't have your fucking sandwich, how am I going to take you seriously?
I'm going to run back in when someone nominates Bishal Tootin, and hopefully they'll think I like him.
They'll be like, "Oh, $30 on Bashal Tutin." You're like, "Psych, bitch."
Yeah.
You're like, I just wanted to see who made the biggest fucking mistake.
Yeah.
That's why I came here. I didn't want to miss this.
Whoever wins the nomination for Bashal Tutin in the draft is getting relegated. Even if they win the league, they're getting relegated.
Yeah. Outstanding.
All righty.
Now I just want to get Bashal Tutin to spite you all.
Let's see if Bashal Tutin's on Cameo.
Yeah, I was gonna say enjoy RB34, homie.
That's right. All right. We touched on this. What happens at the end of a tier? I would just like to have an actual what happens at the end of a tier in nominations, because we talked around it, but how does that play out in an actual draft? If say for example, let's say a tier that everybody kind of agrees on, we'll say you're looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, right?
Yeah.
Top, the last of the hyper elite wide receivers. Pretty much everybody has them as wide receiver 4. So what happens at the end of that hyper elite wide receiver tier?
I mean, like
fireworks, baby.
He's gonna go for a pretty significant amount of money, but yeah, like he's gonna go for probably more than like either JSN, Chase. He might go for the same amounts.
So I have a question then. So if I'm like, the 12th nomination, right? And you've got your big running backs are gone, your big 4 running backs are gone. Are you pushing the last player of that tier up in your nomination order to try to just maximize that getting that money out of the pot?
That's a very good strategy.
It depends on whether I like him or not. If I like him, I'm not nominating him because I'm hoping that maybe he falls a little bit. He'll still go for an expensive amount, but when other people have less dollars, I might still get like a good price on it.
Yeah, basically what it comes down to is, Tony, that's the flip side of what we've been talking about, which is the further back a player goes in the draft that you want, the better it is for you. So the higher in the draft that a player goes that you don't want, that's better for you too. So if it's the end of, like, say for example, say the tier this year ends with Christian McCaffrey. I'm not touching Christian McCaffrey with a 30-foot pole. I'm not touching it with an electrical substation relay. Then I'm sprinting to the podium to nominate Christian McCaffrey because he's the end of a tier. He's an elite running back. He was RB1 last year. And people are going to throw money at him. So that's exactly what I want. I want him to get nominated with as many dollars in the room as possible.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, basically, I think if we had to say an overarching sentence for this episode, it is players you don't want need to be nominated with as many dollars in the room as possible. Players you don't want with as few dollars in the room as possible. So I think that's kind of like the one sentence thing, overarching description of the episode, because that's what you're going for. And if, it's not always, you can't be like, okay, let's just hope Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't get nominated until pick 55, right? So it's as possible. You have to kind of swim in those waters in a way that allows you to make that happen. Players you don't want, get them off the board. Players you do want, you just pray to whatever God you pray to that nobody nominates them before it's too late or too early.
Makes sense to me.
Any last thoughts on
you said
nominating?
Yes, one clarification. You said players you don't want, you want them nominated with as many dollars in the pool as possible. You then said players you don't want, you want nominated with as few dollars as possible. Is that? Did you mean to say
players you do want?
Okay. Maybe I just misheard you, but that's what I heard. Okay. So
that's
players
right.
you do want nominated with as few dollars as possible. Yeah.
I'm actively going to gaslight you, Evan. You misheard me. You're crazy for thinking otherwise.
Well, I was just like, hey, it sounds like you want to nominate players you don't want. I'm down.
Yeah. Nominate players you don't want. All right. Perfect. All right. Any other thoughts? Tony, questions. Waleed, thoughts?
Feels good.
Feels good, man.
At the end of the day, the most important thing to remember is if you're comfortable, if you really want a player and you're comfortable for the price for him, just get him. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks. Build the team you want. It's way more fun to win that way when you're against consensus. Like, my Roman Dunze exposure rate just proves that.
That's right. You've heard it here
And
first,
I want
folks.
to say, if we've won you
40% of
over,
Tuesday.
if we've won you over, and you're thinking I want to try auction, I am doing a intro to auction draft that Wally and I do. We try to do it every year. It's on Sunday the 30th. It's for new players. Wally and I will stream it and spend most of the time giving other players advice on how their roster management is going and give them tips how to move forward just to get you into it. And if you're like, well, wait, I don't want to be in league with Waleed and Evan, let me tell you this. It is really hard to do a good draft when you're streaming and giving others advice constantly. So we never do that great. So don't worry about that.
Maybe for you.
What about that one guy in the Discord that said that he's only willing to try a new format of fantasy football if he's going to win?
Waleed?
He's doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm all about fun. Like winning is like it's cool, like to be right. My rule has always been like it takes skill to make it to the playoffs. It takes luck to win a championship.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always have a pretty good advance rate because I obsess over this shit. But I'm also doing it because I have fun doing it. When it becomes work, I'll stop doing it.
Yeah, that right there is why Empire Dynasty Leagues work, is because you have to get lucky 3 years in a row. You have to be very good and get lucky 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. So that'll do it for the nominating and bidding on players episode. The next episode up is going to be the onesie strategy, quarterbacks and tight ends. We're going to get into the meat. We're actually going to say player names. Not just these like vagaries of, like, oh, maybe it's Jahmyr Gibbs. We're going to be talking about actual players. So for Tony and Evan and Waleed, this is Jeff. Thanks for listening. Take care and have a good one.
See you later.
Take care.
Bye.
Well, see you later.
Bye. Bye-bye. See ya. Goodbye.